This is Smoking Out the Closet. Now, here are your hosts.
Hi, I'm Rayven. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Asmoudeus. I use they, them pronouns.
And welcome back to another episode of
Smoking Out the Closet.
I almost missed the timing on that one. We are a queer podcast.
Pun intended.
That talks about cannabis.
The LGBT community.
And everything in between.
And beyond.
So welcome.
Welcome.
How are you feeling with this strain? Where is it? Here it is. A big old eh.
Just a big old eh.
I will say, I am higher, but it took a king-size joint and a bowl from your bong.
And some food in between.
Yeah, for me to get there. So what we're reviewing today is the seed and strain flower from G-Leaf. Not sure if it's just its own product, but at least here in PA, it is grown by G-Leaf. It's the Happy Hour 8th. And honestly, the medicinal side is fine, and that's kind of the saving grace, but for something that's testing at 30.8 THCA...
Ain't feeling any of that.
No, and I had a conversation with a patient, and so if we actually have this on the shelves, I'm going to recommend it to him. It's like, okay, you want something high in THC, but you aren't feeling the effect of it? Or, you know, like we always say, it's not the end-all, be-all. Here, try this.
Because it's a perfect example of THC just not being the end-all, be-all.
And it's kind of disappointing, I'm not going to lie. So, let's go over terps. Highest terp is limonene at 0.58.
Which is what caught my eye, and this was my pick this week, which is why I was like, hey, I kind of want to try this one.
Caryophyllene at 0.430, so a combination I recommend for people quite often. You know, mood elevation, giggly, you know, I get artsy on it myself, so this is a combination that I recommend for people quite a bit who are like, you know, trying to get a little lighter mood, giggly kind of combo. I think this is really good. I didn't get much of that feeling either, and I usually do.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Everything else is like humulene and myrcene is like 0.12, 0.11, and it's got pinene at 0.05. I think this is beta pinene. So it kind of sucks. Yeah. It definitely does not feel like the way they're producing it. So I have one or two theories. They either found did multiple tests and just pick the best one out of the same batch. And it was like, oh, this particular test from this particular stock tested at this one. You know, they're all from the same batch because they're all from the same cycles of plants. We're going to pick this one because it's the better numbers. Or, this first one is probably the most likely. Or they're paying a lab. Which, I haven't heard much in this state, but I've heard it in other states of groups doing that. Especially in California. Yeah, real messed up.
Shake my head over here.
I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. Because it's like this, and it's worth $41?
No. But also, this is G-Leaf, so, like, tracks. I think I've had G-Leaf maybe, like, once. I know where it's grown. And I used to live there, and I'm like, I don't know if you can grow good weed out there.
Yeah.
Even in a climate-controlled area.
Yeah, and with it being indoors. It's also, like, I would get better effects from Terrapin, or, heck, for this price, I'd rather go to Cresco.
Yeah, honestly.
Because this is about as pricey as Cresco's main line of flour. Their supply line, I think, is like $30-$35, and then Cresco's like $40-$45. I might as well just go to Cresco products for this price.
Yeah.
What are you giving it?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. I think we both did that, yeah. It's not great. I mean, I'm hoping maybe another batch down the road will be... I mean, the name Happy Hour kind of gave me an idea, like, oh, this is either going to be really fun, Or I'm going to be super motivated and elevated to where I'm having a great time, or I'm going to kind of feel a little drunky.
Yeah.
Like silly. And that is not the effect it's giving me at all.
No, me either.
So we got quite a bit of stuff on today's episode, because we did miss last week, or last step, I should say. Can I start with the anniversary of things?
Yeah.
So in between last episode and this episode, so I'll go in order of dates. So we're currently recording on the 22nd. So 2 days ago on the 20th was the 13th year, I could do math, the 13th year anniversary of the abolishment of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I posted on our Instagram, our TikTok, and my veteran TikTok about the event with some pictures from people celebrating outside DC. And for those of you who don't know, back during the Bill Clinton administration, just a quick history, before Clinton, thanks to Eisenhower's administration, it was illegal to work for the government and be openly queer. Like 100%. You were discharged from the military, you were kicked out of the government, you couldn't work for the FBI, and you would get dishonorably discharged because it was under the idea that you were performing heinous sexual acts, essentially. During the Bill Clinton administration, they basically gave a compromise that said you can serve in the military, but you can't be out and open. We won't ask, you won't tell. Hence, don't ask, don't tell. A lot of people, even during that time, there were some people who got found out to be, a prime example, I can't remember her name. She was a lesbian, and she was court-martialed. And she was basically given, go to jail or take this specific discharge. It's a dishonorable discharge, but it's basically like a court-martialed lined discharge. But because of that, she doesn't have the discharge of basically being discharged because of homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
She was discharged because of court-martialing. And that's still, even after we're getting everything to where we're getting rid of that, we're helping those who were discharged, their DD-214s or the discharges upgraded and changed from dishonorable to honorable. She can't, because her commanding officer lied and said, because he was a bigot, either you take this plea deal or we're going to send you to jail.
Jeez.
Yeah, there were some assholes, still some assholes in the military, even when I served, and it was freshly after Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So, I like to kind of give it a little victory. Well, there's still a lot to do. I like to note that big victory for our community in the military. Also, yesterday was the anniversary of our first actual episode being uploaded online.
Hell yeah.
Back in 2021.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
3 years of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2021.
That's crazy. That seems like ages ago.
You know, I'm going to... I do this every year. Let me
double check. Just make sure.
Let me just double check. To make sure. Some of our regulars are going, oh, God, not this thing again with the year.
Not this again.
Yeah, let me go to oldest. Yep. Okay, so it was actually the intro episode. That short little 9-minute episode where we had to, like, before we had to re-record and re-upload it. So I did an intro. Oh, no. Okay, so September 14th, 2021 was the intro episode. September 20th, 2021, the same day of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, is actually our podcast's anniversary.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together. That's cool.
That is cool.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Do you want to go? Because I have a lot of notes. Do you want to do one of your notes first?
Sure. Let me pull up my notes here. Start with. Here, you pick A or B.
A.
All right, so we're going to start talking about neo-pronouns first, because I don't think we ever really talked about neo-pronouns on the podcast.
We really haven't. We talked about he, she, they, but we haven't gone to the other ones. And honestly, unless someone tells me what their pronouns are, and it's one of the neo-pronouns, you gotta speak it to me, because I can't look at this stuff and pronounce it the right way, because my brain don't do like that since the brain injury.
Valid. I do use neo-pronouns. And I found this cool article from hrc.org. It says, Understanding Neo-Pronouns. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I just wanted to give us like a basic definition here, right? So, as we know, pronouns are the words we use to refer to ourselves and others. And then neopronouns are also pronouns that include those pronouns besides the ones most commonly used in a particular language. Ones are often a reflection of their personal identity. The number of types of neopronouns a person may use is limitless. So different examples are, mine are Z-zir-zirs, that is Z-E-Z-I-R, and then Z-I-R-S. There's also, almost positive it is pronounced the same way, Z-zir-zirs, but it's with an X.
Yeah, that's what
in the front.
I wasn't sure if it was zero or... Yeah, I don't know. I think so.
And then you got fear, fairs. Words, wow.
If anyone
fairs.
If anyone can tag us to like a pronunciation thing for these, that'd be great.
I
Appreciate
have
y'all.
known people who have used fair pronouns.
So have I, yeah.
Basically, you use neopronouns exactly the same way that you would use regular pronouns.
Yeah.
In the same spot in the sentence. Little fun little side tangent. I played The Sims 4 again recently, and they have an option now for customizable pronouns, which is pretty cool. So you can type in your neopronouns. They actually date back to the 12th century, which is pretty cool. The Old English gender pronouns he and heo, heo, naturally evolved to near indistinguishable pronunciation, which eventually led to the adoption of she as a feminine pronoun. The gender-neutral pronoun u was spelled OU, was recorded by William H. Marshall in 1789 and traced back to a gender-neutral pronoun e or a. I'm not sure if it's a short or a long a. It's just an a in Middle English.
Interesting. Okay. So gender-neutral pronouns have been a thing for a long time.
Even neo-pronouns. So don't be coming at me also with this, well, neo-pronouns are you think. No, they're not. They're really not.
I think a part of it is just because the prefix neo,
Yeah.
which means new.
Yeah. Fawn was recognized from 1934 to 1961 in the Merriam-Webster's Unabridged Dictionary as a contraction of the phrase "that one."
Okay.
I like that one.
I do too, but is it spelled Thon?
Yes.
I don't like it now.
Why? Because Penn State?
Yeah. It reminds me of Penn State.
Well, damn. Oh, in the early 90s, the online community Lambdamoo, LAMBDAMOO, capital M, capital O, capital O. There's another thing that I've been on, I guess. It allowed users to choose the gender-neutral pronouns set as EM-ER, called Spivak pronouns, after the mathematician Michael Spivak.
I kind of like that, because that's what I do. Like, instead of saying them, I usually say M.
M.
Yeah,
I like those too.
Ask them.
Ask them.
Fuck them. Because fuck them, that's why.
Fuck them, that's why. That goes to say, how do I figure out pronouns? Just ask.
Yeah.
No, so what? Noun self pronouns, which are pronouns referring to pre-existing words. Noun self pronouns users often choose pronouns based on objects or ideas they have for a strong personal connection. For others, noun self pronouns may also be a reflection of their gender identity.
Okay. I mean, I know someone who uses we as their pronoun,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I can understand like using it like first, but how does it become we? How do I do like possessive? That's where I'm like I no disrespect to this person. I don't even know if they listen to our podcast, but I'm like, I haven't actually had a chance to actually, or the confidence to be like, how do I do the possessive form?
Yeah. I have heard of the, what are these called? Noun self pronouns? Yeah, noun self pronouns. I've heard of these, which are interesting. The example here is Kit. Kit brought the coat for Kit's self, which was Kit's grandmother's coat.
Okay, yeah, I've heard stuff like that, or like they would use their name.
Yeah. Interesting. Xenogender is used by some people who feel their gender is neither masculine nor feminine, and is not related to the understanding of these binary identities. Like noun self pronouns, xenogender may use objects or ideas or metaphors to describe their gender. Well, damn, I just found my gender. Or lack thereof, I guess.
See, I told you you're a zognoid.
Yeah, my xenogender. I literally use the alien thing to describe my gender, as if you would show an alien 80s movies, and that is what they would think of as gender. That is what gender is to me, because it doesn't make sense to anyone else but me, because I don't. It's weird. Gender is weird.
It really is.
It's so weird. But yeah, gender's. While we're talking about pronouns, the fourth person pronouns have becoming increasingly popular.
Theoretical. Proposed
fourth person pronouns.
Fourth
we were
person
talking
pronoun
about this at work the other day.
Of chat.
But
like
also
Twitch stream.
Yins, y'all would also be considered fourth person pronouns because they're talking about a group of people. An outside group of people.
I guess you could, but I also feel like y'all is like everyone in the room. Like, y'all want any script?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they still are involved in the situation.
Yeah.
Audience would be a fourth person pronoun.
Okay, I'll see that one. Anyone who is an English major and or professor, please hit us up with your thesis on this.
I would love to talk to you about this. I love talking about language.
Is there anything you want to add before I go on to my first topic?
No, just that language is ever evolving and it's super fucking cool. And I love to look at shit like this too. And
really is.
Educate people.
So there's this bill that's been pushed in, pushed out, kicked around, has changed. Basically, I'm going to say more wigs than a drag queen. If you want to think of it like the names and everything. Anyway, this is basically known as the Pennsylvania Fairness Act. And there's currently 2 measures in Pennsylvania legislation. And we talk about cannabis legislation across the country and PA very heavily. And even later, I'm going to talk about Florida's. But we don't talk about LGBT legislation usually unless it's in a negative manner, right? So today I'm going to do something really nice. It's in a positive manner. It is the Fairness Act. So essentially, LGBTQI plus individuals deserve the same protections in not only employment, which we do kind of have right now, but in housing and public accommodations as every other Pennsylvanian. Now, even some of the proponents and supporters and sponsors of this bill are not super hopeful that it's not gonna. It passed the House version, passed the House, which is House Bill 300 passed the House. There's also either Senate bill or state bill 150. We're not. A lot of people aren't super hopeful that it's going to pass the Senate because Pennsylvania's Senate right now is very Republican controlled, which register to vote. Remember, general election is coming up here, November 5th, Pennsylvania. Go vote. So basically, the House Bill 300 is the one that's called the Fairness Act. It passed the House on May 2nd. It's currently in the Senate State Government Committee trying to, figure out if they should put it onto the ballot and to be put to a vote. But the legislation will prohibit discrimination in Pennsylvania based on sex, sexual orientation, gender expression, or identity. It's basically referring to the landmark 2020 decision of Bostock versus Clayton County. The United States Supreme Court ruled that an employer cannot discriminate against an individual because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. And honestly, that is something that the Senate-controlled, or the Republican-controlled, not Senate, Supreme Court, the ones that Trump put in, are looking at getting rid of. And then you have Senate Bill 150, which is prohibiting discrimination based on individual sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. Basically, it's trying to add into the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act prohibits discrimination in areas of employment, housing, and public accommodations based on race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, sex, education status, handicap, or disability. But it doesn't cover sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. As a consequence, a lot of Pennsylvania LGBTQI plus members face a lot of discrimination still from this. I would argue, and this is where having the legalese of kind of like having it's one of those things where like you could have a good lawyer go one way or the other for you, because a lot of this ties to sex discrimination. So yeah, I mean this stuff is really important. Definitely talk to your local politicians about getting this stuff sorted, because it's very important and we need to push for this. And contact PFLAG, contact any LGBT, the Trevor organization, the Trevor Project, any other LGBT organizations you are a part of or know who would support this. And your local politicians. I know I said that, but I'm saying it again to reiterate. Is there anything you want to add to that at all?
No, it's actually that's pretty cool. I didn't know that was a thing that was going on right now.
I honestly, so the reason I know about it and I added it not too long ago was because Qberg, or Queer Pittsburgh, their podcast is up and running. So shout out to them again after a long hiatus. And they had a politician on there. I can't remember her name for the life of me right now. But they had her on there, and she was talking about the Fairness Act and everything. So I looked into it.
Nice.
Because I thought, spreading the knowledge,
Yeah.
Can I go into a rant about Florida?
Absolutely.
Okay, so keeping in the same vein of political legislation, I don't know if you've been looking at our Instagram or Twitter, but I have been on a personal tirade against Amendment 3 in Florida. So Amendment 3, short and skinny, it is a constitutional amendment that would legalize adult use cannabis in the state of Florida.
Okay.
And this is where I get a little bit of the ick, because in this, for different reasons, but it ends up with the same results, I'm on the same side as Ron fucking DeSantis and Matt Gaetz. Yeah. I feel a little, like, gross. Like I need a shower, right?
Yeah.
But they're against it because they're against cannabis. I want to have Florida to have any adult use as much as they want. I want everybody across the board to have adult use or recreational, legalized, whatever, right?
Yes.
There are three major problems with, actually four. I'm going to say four major problems with Amendment 3. One, it's a constitutional amendment, which means it's going to be fucking hard to make any changes to this, anything to improve the program for the state, anything to make it easier for people to get access, change how the licensing works or anything. It is going to take a lot of steps to get that changed because you're messing with the Constitution. So even that off the back is a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And because cannabis has been a very evolving thing. California, Colorado, a lot of states here, even Pennsylvania, has had a lot of good and bad changes to their cannabis legislation, but it's easier to do because it's easier to evolve it. And I feel like that's a good thing. We, eventually we'll take out the bad because corporate lobbyists and everything, and we add more and more of the good, right?
Yeah.
Like, prime example, when we pass that, like, grower processors can start doing their own grow facilities, and then dispensaries who are just dispensaries only can start, or grower processors who are just growers can get their own dispensaries, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So that is easier to do. If it was in a constitution, you would have to put another amendment to attach to the old amendment, and it's just this big headache. You don't really want that with cannabis. Reason, this is the bare bones, like, but no home grow for anybody. And I got into, remember very early in our podcast, I got into an argument and my personal Twitter was blocked by Kim Rivers, the CEO of True Leaf.
Yeah.
Because she said, oh no, we support home grow. Look, here in like Michigan or Missouri or one of the two, in the Midwest cannabis state, that we're selling clones. I'm like, okay, yeah, but you're not supporting it in any of the other states. You're just supporting it in the state where you have to support it. And here's a prime example, because do you know who is a big proponent and writer of Amendment 3? True Leaf.
Ew.
Shocker, right? They're the ones that are pushing the most for Amendment 3. Kim Rivers and True Leaves are all their subsidiaries are pushing ads and propaganda online on Instagram and Twitter, very heavily on Twitter, for passing Amendment 3 and trying to get everybody in Florida to vote yes on it. They have this whole campaign, yes on 3. So, and that's a big issue because recently True Leaf got caught with a lot of mold on their product in Florida. Kind of hard to grow in a very humid climate, even with inside a building,
Yeah.
So, they got caught with that. So here is reason number 3, technically, of why I don't like this bill. If it passes, any regular person cannot sue any grower, processor, or dispensary, any cannabis company, for anything. It gives cannabis companies lawsuit protections. So say...
Oh, no.
Yeah, right. So let's say... we'll just use one of our cat's name. Let's say Phineas, the human, goes into a Florida True Leaf after Amendment 3 passes. The eighth of weed they got is either really moldy and they don't notice, or has pesticides on it well after the beginning stages, to where it should not have pesticide on it, which I don't even think it should have pesticide on it at all, because you're inhaling it. But there is pesticide on the flowered part of the bud, which they're going to smoke. They die because of this pesticide and or mold. True Leaf cannot be sued for causation of someone's death. Not to mention, Another thing, like in the Midwest, where that person died from lack of proper ventilation and PPE,
Mm-hmm.
True Leaf cannot be sued for that either.
Fuck True Leaf.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is a really big red flag of it. But here's the even worse part, and this brings in the irony and hypocrisy of the Last Prisoner Project into this as well. So the Last Prisoner Project wrote an article August 3rd of this year with interviews of Kim Rivers and True Leaf execs talking about why they should pass Amendment 3. They recently got someone out of jail in Florida, which, awesome, really great. You know, that's a good thing. The problem is they're pushing and saying that Amendment 3 will get more people out of jail. There's no social equity on Amendment 3. And there's nothing saying they would get people out of jail inside the legislation itself, inside the text. Because I went and looked at, because you can look up any state and federal bill being proposed and voted on and pushing through the steps. You could look and read the text. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of legalese, but they do also have shortened versions for the common person to read. And I'm the moron who decides I'm going to read all of it. Especially the slow days at work. So, we get to a point here where Last Prisoner Project, who says they're trying to get people out of jail, are supporting Amendment 3. The problem is, Amendment 3 makes it a felony to have any cannabis outside of a dispensary labeled product packaging. So they're like, oh, we shouldn't, arrest people for having weed or growing their own weed. Well, you can't grow your own weed. If you want to grow your own weed, you're going to get arrested for that. If you bring it from outside of the state, you're going to get arrested for that and be charged with a felony. Or if you decide, hey, these Mylar bags or plastic jars that they give us, that aren't really great for the environment, they kind of suck. They're not super airtight once you open them. I have a airtight sealing jar that will get the air out. I'm just going to slap the sticker on or whatever and put my product in there. Nope, that's not good enough. Felony.
It's ridiculous.
This is where I'm getting upset with the Last Prisoner Project, and I reached out to them, and guess what I got?
Crickets?
Oh, big time. Big time crickets. Like, they seen all my messages. They didn't reply to any of my emails, but they seen all my messages on Instagram, saw the story thing that I tagged them and True Leaf in. But they're supporting an amendment that would make it a felony if you don't have it in the really hard to recycle dispensary packaging.
That's because they can benefit from it. They benefit more because if it's illegal to have it in anything other than dispensary packaging, guess what? People have to go to dispensaries unless they risk being put in jail.
And see, that's where, like, in an earlier episode, we were talking about the potential dark side of the Last Prisoner Project. Where, and a former person that got out who worked for the company did not like them because of all the shady crap that they were doing. And this is where it comes to where I'm thinking, oh, yeah, does it actually get stuff out? Yes, but I feel like it's more for corporate cannabis to pat themselves on the back and say, we're doing a good job. See all this outreach we're doing? But are still just looking out for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm getting a bit upset. It's like corporate. It's like Target Pride section.
Yeah.
That is what I feel like right now the Last Prisoner Project is. Now, it might not have started that way, but the current version is full of hypocrisy. And I don't know about you, but that shit pisses me the fuck off.
Oh, absolutely. That is one of my number one pet peeves.
I can't stand hypocrites. So, yeah, that's my rant on Amendment 3. Shame on you, True Leaf. Shame on you, Kim Rivers. Actually, even one better. Kim Rivers, go fuck yourself. On the same breath, since I haven't said her name recently, J.K. Rowling, go fuck yourself.
Speaking of which, I figured out how I could have got blocked from her for Twitter. Because there was a post that was like, that you showed me, the post that was like, oh, it's amazing how many years of HRT can do, and it's a picture of Hitler and a picture of J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, all I had to do was call her fucking Hitler and I would have got blocked on Twitter. That's all I had to do.
Oh, here's a funnier thing that I want to share with her. The regret rates
are higher for Harry Potter tattoos than transitions.
Yep. The regret rate of transitioning socially and or medically is less than kneecap surgery. The regret, which is I think 20-25% for like knee replacement surgery.
Mm-hmm.
The regret rate for Harry Potter tattoos is sitting at a whopping 34.
Yeah.
Wish I could drop the mic, but that would sound awful on the audio.
Don't want to break our mic.
Is there anything you want to say or add before we go on a break?
Fuck you, J.K. Rowling.
Fuck you, J.K. Rowling. Fuck you, Truly. Fuck you, Kim Rivers. And Last Prisoner Project, come on, grow up.
Yeah.
I feel like over the last 3 years we've gotten, oh, we're going to just vaporize only because that's the way the law is, and we're going to be very careful about what we say to fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you.
Rips my bong.
All right, we'll be back after a quick break.
Yeah.
And we are back. You have the next topic, I believe.
I do. So I have noticed recently, at least in my healthcare bubble, that I don't know whether it's just because I have been seeking out these people or that I just feel like a lot more doctors and physicians have become more chill with cannabis. I don't know if you've noticed that or...
I have. Weirdly enough, especially since we moved to the Pittsburgh area, I've noticed a bit more. Weirdly enough, the VA hospital, which took me aback.
Yeah, I know you were mentioning that whenever you started going there.
Yeah, literally, like, I go in there, like, okay, any illicit substances? I'm like, well, I have my medical marijuana card. And they're like, we don't count that anymore. I'm like,
Okay.
cool. And then I had to do the follow-up question. Do you mark it as cannabis use disorder? Have you ever gotten that?
I don't think so.
So for a long time, even in like California during the 90s, when and like up to like 2016, I think is when they went recreational.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a little after that. In other states, even when it was legal, if you were using cannabis, a lot of doctors would put in your medical record, in your permanent medical record, cannabis use disorder, or a CUD, which is basically like saying you're an addict and you use cannabis because you're an addict. I tried doing like a Karen Valley girl. Did it not come across like that?
I think it did, yeah, because it was very grating and that's just annoying. Now I'm like, should I go back through my medical records and see if they've ever slapped me with that? I don't know, because I have always skirted around that for a while, until recently. Because I'm like, well, if you're going to be putting me on medications that are fucking with my brain chemistry, you need to know what I'm doing with my brain chemistry.
100%. And that's another thing, too. Like, when I went for my top surgery, when I got my breast augmentation, I told them, hey, I use medical marijuana quite frequently. I know that messes with anesthesia. You might want to put me on something a little stronger. And honestly, they gave me a proper dose because one of my coworkers woke up in the middle of his surgery because he didn't say,
oh no,
he was on cannabis. Yeah, fun time for him. They quickly got it back under, though. For me, it was more, I woke up.
You were so sleepy.
So sleepy, groggy. Went back to sleep, woke up, went back to sleep, woke up. You were there, went back to sleep. I feel nauseous, try eating, went back to sleep. We're in the car, go back to sleep. We're home, go back to sleep.
That's better. That's usually where they want you because then you rest when you get home. You don't try to do too much shit.
And knowing me, I do too much shit.
Yeah.
But yes, none of my therapists have any issues with me using it.
My new prescriber that I got, because fuck my old one, he was a dick. My new prescriber actually asked me which terpenes help best.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, "Ooh,
I found a good one.
ooh."
I like her.
That is something where like you're starting to see the younger medical professionals, like younger, like my parents' age, like younger Gen X, up to millennials, and even some of the ones that are in college, like Gen Z now going into the medical field. They're more like, so cannabis, it helps. And like I've gotten a lot of people coming and going that are newer patients. Yeah, I got my card. My doctor recommended it for me, or my therapist recommended it for me. And I'm like, did you ask them? They're like, no. They're just like, I don't want to put you on this pill that may be super highly addictive, and it may or may not work. But they're making great strides with weed. Have you thought about weed? Uh, no, that it is really good that like that's slowly becoming more a thing, and it means well for the future of cannabis, at least medically.
And the fact that it's getting destigmatized like that, even if it's just smaller steps, right? It's important, like I said before, to tell your doctor about stuff like that because I've even talked about psychedelics with my prescriber. And that is definitely something that you need to know. They need to know.
100%. And like, heck, even like, okay, think about it this way: the VA offers they weren't allowed to do the DMDA, DMT, whatever.
Yeah, MDMA.
Thank you. But they do offer in some areas psilocybin and ketamine therapy for veterans with PTSD.
I heard ketamine was also supposed to be really helpful with bipolar disorder.
Yeah. Actually, there was an episode of American Legion that their podcast that I listened to recently, when they were at the National Convention. Ketamine is an anesthesia.
Interesting.
But then they realized it's too strong usually for people. So they decided to use it for veterinarian practices on horses. So whenever someone goes, "Oh yeah, I'm on horse tranquilizer," that's more often ketamine.
Okay. Did not know that. Now
Yeah.
I do.
Fun fact with Rayven, I didn't give you one of those today, so
Yeah, so there it is. Yeah.
the audience gets to join on this one.
Heck yeah.
For context, ever since Azzy got a incorrect Snapple fact, I have been trying to give them fun little facts every day, and some of them I know, some of them I end up finding across the internet, and some I actually look up.
No.
Is there anything you want to add to the therapist and doctors thing?
Just that, like, don't be afraid to keep going until you find your perfect good care person.
100%. Even
Because
dispensary workers too.
Absolutely. I was like, all right, well, this is a place to start, right? Everybody needs a place to start. I was on a waiting list for a very long time. I think I was on a list for about a year.
Yeah.
I got into someone. I was excited I got into someone. He knew the basics of what he was doing. I didn't have the deeper connection, which he got me on a good mood stabilizer. He got me on a good anti-anxiety medication. So that way we can figure out everything else. Right? And now I have somebody who's actually going to take me seriously so we can figure out everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But just, yeah, keep trying until you find the doctors that are going to work with you, that take you seriously. Don't settle for any of their bullshit or their, oh, it'll heal on their own, or it's all in your head, or blame it on XYZ.
Someone gave me this advice when I was younger. Your medical care is only as important as you push for it. If someone is not taking you seriously for your condition, go to another doctor. You do not have to keep going to the same person. Now, logistically, I do know that's kind of hard for some people, especially in very more rural areas where the next doctor is in the city 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So I understand that's a little harder for some folks, but
We're out here where we are, there's no excuse. Go find yourself someone who's going to take care of you.
because I've seen people online that were having issues and were like, oh, it's because you're a woman, or oh, it's because you're on this medication. And then they go to another doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, let me actually do some tests and everything. And they find out they had a tumor. But their exhaustion was caused by them being a woman. Love it.
The thing that I always women's healthcare has never been great because healthcare has been controlled by white men, and I'm not going to go off on that tangent right now. But just going back to whenever I was a female presenting person and I got my wisdom teeth out, and my male presenting boyfriend at the time also got four of his wisdom teeth out. We went to two separate doctors, not even like 5 miles apart from each other in the same area, right? And I got prescribed ibuprofen. He got Oxy. That's some sexist bullshit.
100% is. Is there anything we want to add before? Because we can go on a long, hours-long tangent about the medical industry.
We're just going to cap it right there for right now.
We'll put a pin in that for a later episode.
Yep.
So I got a couple short things we could talk about too. A little update. California's Senate, I believe. I don't know if it's got to go to the House or to the governor. I just kind of heard this in passing at work. But they passed a bill that would allow cannabis cafes and state-run, which scary at first until you hear farmers markets. So a lot of the saturation with the growers, where they can't get into like the big dispensaries or anything, they can just go into this state-run farmers market and sell their weed there.
That's fantastic.
Which I think is an awesome model.
Okay, so we're penciling in a vacation to California. Got it.
100% yes, because I want to take you to San Diego.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it is something, because like now I just imagine like going to a farmer's market, picking up some fruit. I was gonna say tomatoes, but you hate tomatoes.
I'm like, no, don't pick me up tomatoes. I want some mangoes, a pineapple, coconut,
and then weed,
and some weed.
Get an apple at the farmer's market to make an apple bong out of, or pipe.
Apple
I guess it's a pipe, yeah. But yeah, and then cannabis cafes. Now, I don't know. Okay, so here's how I feel about cannabis cafes, and it's very determined on how I feel about germs. Because while I was always kind of with sharing stuff, if I know people and I know they're generally healthy, I'm less worried about it. But since COVID, I'm a little less comfortable even with people I know. If you're coughing, I'm not drinking or smoking the same thing as you are. I don't care. Now, if you're like, it's allergies, and I know you have allergies, I'm a little more forgiving. But if you're coughing and I don't know what the reason is. No, stay there. So, I really want to know. I really hope that they're going to keep that in mind, and be a little more cognizant of kind of germs in that realm, at least. I'm hoping they do the hookah bar method.
That's what I was just thinking about. Have like little tips or that
whatever.
little mouthpiece thing I have.
Mm-hmm.
They could have those you could buy at the bar.
They have those where you can use it with like a student glass or a volcano or even the Zenko vaporizer machines.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Zenko is usually like a glass you hit. But if you have like 4 or 5 of them and everyone's sitting down and they get their own little one, that also alleviates half the issue.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like...
God, could you imagine that? Like, just have a bar with all those little Zenko glasses in the back, and they just like they take them through the dishwasher and take them out, and they're still warm, and they hand them to you, and you get your little Zenko machine, you take it over to your little table in the corner with a bunch of cool lights and shit, and fucking sit and chill.
You're sitting there reading a book, a cup of coffee, and a Zenko.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
You're sitting there reading your band book list that you're currently going through.
Oh my god, yes. I'm sitting here looking at Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, which I started reading today. I got like halfway through it while I was reading in the cemetery. So good.
Is there anything you want to add to that? Because that was pretty much it. It's just California is looking at real soon the potential of having cannabis cafes and state-run weed farmers markets.
That just is so fun. Good for you, California.
Good for you. Recently, the podcast, and also some things I've shared on our Instagram stories and posts, joined PFLAG and a couple other LGBTQI plus groups, organizations, and allies to call out WDVE and the John Wolf Clay Show about the transphobic comments. We talked about this in a couple episodes ago. And apparently, John Wolf Clay apologized on air. Now, there has been a few more since I went through, but between the time of the official letter statement from WDVE and the person who runs it, who said that John has personally apologized on air, I cannot find where it's at. Each episode is about 2 hours long. I'm trying to listen through it. It is a very dull, boring podcast that sometimes has some slightly racist remarks, even with a woman of color on there. And I'm not saying they're not joking, but it gives a little skeeve a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is, however, one episode after the incident on August 3rd, and it has the first hour cut off. And apparently, per the YouTube, because they go live on YouTube as well,
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is because there was a bad audio connection and they couldn't save it, and the first hour was cut because of upload and saving issues. My theory is that's where the audio I'm looking for is. It just happens to be in an area where they lost it.
They just so happen to lose it.
Yeah, a little tin hatty, I know, but still, it is very tin hatty, I know, but still, it's very concerning. And again, I have essentially 20 hours to go through.
Yikes. That's a commitment.
It is, and I am losing the will to live from it. Not really, but like, it's okay. So basically, it's a dude bro show about cars and sports, and not
Thrilling.
not even in like a fun like Top Gear kind of way. It's like local rural. It is like Huntington local access radio station car sport guy shows.
No, thank you.
Like,
well, today on the Access of the previous episode, I am talking about the Ford Transit.
Public access TV where it's like a really grainy camera.
Welcome to Crack an Egg, and I bet you can't, so.
Yes, but like, imagine the quality of the recording was like someone's 1982 camera and the microphone on it. For 2024.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a bad time.
Sounds like it.
So I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt that he did apologize. I just, as of right now, cannot find it. Okay, here's going to be one that's interesting. I have been on a very interesting deep dive on East Coast weed. So, as a lot of you know or may not know, we are I don't know if we're the largest, but as far as I know, the only cannabis podcast for the East Coast. We focus on the East Coast. There's a lot of other ones that are out in California, Colorado. Now, again, there may be others. I just don't know about them, right? And there's one up and coming called Canna Talk. There were a Skittle a few episodes back.
Yeah.
But I have been on a deep dive. We're about to go to Virginia. We're going to take a little vacation down where I grew up in Virginia. And I, out of curiosity, was looking at their weed prices. Oofta. $90 for a 1 gram vape cartridge.
No, my gosh.
$60 for an eighth. This is like
Fuck.
this is like 2018 PA just launched its medical program prices.
And how long has Virginia had their med program?
I want to say maybe a year or two less than us.
They still shouldn't have their prices this high.
No, but also I'm looking at the area. There is, in total, if you want to go to, there's one in Virginia Beach, one in Norfolk, none in Newport News, two in Williamsburg. There's four in total within an hour radius of us, of where we're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand more rural areas are going to have a harder time, but this is a huge metropolitan area in the middle of 5 military bases, and they have 4, where Pittsburgh, for the company I work for alone, has 6.
Ridiculous.
Right?
That's probably also why it's expensive down there.
Probably. Not a lot of locations, not a lot of things. So, like, the licensing resources is probably a lot more stricter for Virginia. And I noticed some of them have pharmacy technician level cannabis advisors, which, surprise, surprise, that's kind of what we do here in PA. We just don't get paid for it. Unless you're in a union, then hoorah.
Yeah, you.
But yeah, PA is the cheapest in any state, and everyone complains that we're so expensive. The only thing cheap in Maryland are the edibles and the pre-rolls. Maryland is selling the same strain from the same home brand that my company sells. $20 extra for the 8th. I looked at your location, which is closer to price than what my store sells, maybe like $5-10 different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still, $20 more expensive than my store. New Jersey, same company that I work for. It's also New Jersey. Our house brand, same strains, $15 more expensive. Ohio does everything in tenths. Their tenths are $45. New York is a bit closer. I will say they're closer in price than us. I think right now New York is probably the closest one to us in pricing, but they also have taxes. We don't.
Yeah.
Florida, expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the thing that a lot of people, like, I can't say anything for like Massachusetts because I haven't looked too much at their stuff. I've heard they're pretty close to us in price, maybe a smidge more expensive as well, like New York. Because I had a friend that went up there who smokes weed, and she's like, yeah, unless you're getting like the pre-rolls, it's not really worth the price. I'm like, understandable, kind of like Maryland.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at California prices too every now and again. So the California weed before the taxes, same amount as ours. And then, even if it is cheaper than our products, like say it is a $10 eighth compared to a $30 eighth here in PA, you can get upwards to 60% in taxes in some areas of California.
Yeah.
So, PA is relatively cheap when it comes to weed. Is it the cheapest? No. That honor goes to Michigan.
Fuck yeah, Michigan. We still need to go out there.
We do, because I can get a pack of pre-rolls for $7. I can get an eighth for about $10, $12.
Nuts.
Yeah. I think the most expensive thing in Michigan is concentrates and edible drinks. And I say edible drink as the subcategory edibles, not like the drinks themselves are edibles. That's ice.
Or if you have those like jelly cubes in those Japanese drinks.
Oh, yeah, where the container is just basically a jellified shell.
Yeah.
Those are cool, interesting, and confuses my brain, but they're cool.
Those, but that's not exactly what I was thinking of. I was just thinking of like the boba tea that has like the jello in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like the jelly.
Yeah, no, I get you now.
God, now I want boba tea.
The boba sounds really good, but it is 9:36 at night.
Nowhere
No Boba's open.
has boba, yeah.
Not even the Thai place down the road.
Nah, I think they're close, aren't they?
Yeah. What I was gonna bring up. Oh yeah, okay. My last topic. Unless you want to bring up anything about PA weed.
No.
Okay. Um. Oh yeah. For any of the PA residents listening to this podcast, or anyone who knows and loves someone that lives in the Pennsylvania area that is part of the medical marijuana program, I'm trying to sound like that infomercial guy about any, like, Excedra. Don't take this, may cause serious headaches, migraine, indigestion, pregnancy, no testicles, floating eyes.
Death.
Yeah, death. I'm trying to sound like those. But if you know anyone who lives in the Pennsylvania area, when we do go recreational in PA, we're most likely going to keep our medical program because a lot of people are even inside the medical, like, industry, even inside the cannabis industry, and activists want to keep the medical program for the people who use it medically. If you have your medical card, keep it, because most likely you're not going to pay taxes because Pennsylvania doesn't pay taxes on pharmaceuticals, and medical marijuana is considered a pharmaceutical. You taught me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania also doesn't tax clothes or food.
Yeah, it still blows my mind because, like, I always round up every time
we buy anything, but you also came from a state that taxes everything.
Yeah, but it's like a 5% solid straight tax on everything.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, cheaper gas prices.
Yeah.
Because we're going from, let's see, get-go this morning was $3.60 to something the last time I checked was $2.70.
You want to know what's some bullshit?
What's up?
You drive not even 40 minutes to Washington. Their gas is 30 cents cheaper than it is here.
Well, yeah, because we're in a more metropolitan area.
I'm about to go when I go see the Joitzifer. Go get gas out there because it's cheaper.
Yeah, honestly, go where the cheap gas is. Just make sure they're not cutting it with something.
Yeah, honestly.
All right, so my last big topic is why are pulling on my little Weed and Grub, rest in peace, pod, fan hat. Why is stoner food so good? That's my final topic. Why is stoner food so good? And I'm saying this as not I'm really high as fuck and I just put, like, sushi and a hot dog and mac and cheese and mix it all together kind of stoner food. Like, you know, when you're so high, you try to toast something and you end up just microwaving a plate and putting the toast on the counter.
Yeah.
And it's just bread. It's just raw toast. I'm not meaning like that super high. But, like, I make some far out food sober. And I also make some really far out food stoned. What are you giggling over there about?
Just myself.
Yeah. But case in point, I have made, as a young person, i.e. 17, barbecue mashed potatoes. Because I have had things like pulled barbecue chicken and mashed potatoes, and the barbecue from the chicken gotten on my mashed potatoes. Sounds like a very stoner food to make. Like, dude, you're high, you got some leftover mashed potatoes and some barbecue sauce, let's just mix it up and eat it.
Sounds so good.
I've made it for you. My family did not like it. I love it. You love it.
Yeah.
But we've never had it stoned. We've only had it sober. But it's like that thing, for me, stoner food, like, things you make when you're like, I need, like, you're getting the munchies, but you're so kind of, like, you can still play video games well, and you make stoner food.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like booze food. Like, food that you would absolutely love drunk off your ass.
Yeah.
But it's so good sober. Case in point, when we were living in State College, there was a place called Pen Kebab, which was a Greek heavy, I want to say like Greek, Turkish fusion. It was a very Mediterranean restaurant where you can get halal meats, but you also get like shawarma and falafel and euros.
Yeah.
And so I would get a thing where it's basically the chicken sliced off the big slab thing, fries, tzatziki sauce, and Greek yogurt sauce. And let me tell you, I have never had that food drunk, but my body knows if I was so drunk, I was waltzing while I stepped and talked in cursive, I would destroy a box of that.
Talked in cursive.
Oh yeah, that was a thing my grandma, I think, said. I'm not slurring my words, I'm just talking in cursive. But think about a big one. I think would really, really be good as a stoner food that I like sober, but I will totally destroy. And I haven't even had it, but it's an idea of something I want to make. It is you take a big, like McAllister's big baked potato, like a baked potato almost the size of a football.
Yeah.
You hollow that out. Save the potato innards for another day because you're basically using the potato skin here. And you make mac and cheese and chicken nuggets.
And you throw it in the potato skin?
You chop up the chicken nuggets, you mix that with the mac and cheese, and you throw it in the potato skin with some bacon.
Yes, please.
Sounds really good sober. Sounds like an awesome time.
Sounds fantastic.
Imagine it stoned off your gourd.
Yes.
That's a stoner food. I'm sure you got something in the pipes with that. What?
It's just weird, and I haven't had it in a really long time. But I had it sober, and it weirdly slaps. It's the ketchup and butter sandwiches.
Oh, no. I hate that.
Ketchup and butter sober.
I know you love that's your stoner food.
And then the stoned probably tastes fucking fantastic. I haven't had it in so long, though. I don't know if I still like it.
What was that pregnancy one you had?
Pickles and peanut butter.
That was what?
Pickles and peanut butter.
Pickles and peanut butter. You ate that, didn't you?
Yeah.
How was it? You liked that, right?
No, it was good. Yeah, that's what my mom had all the time when she was pregnant with me.
I feel like stoner food.
Yeah, stoner food and pregnant person food overlaps a lot.
Very similar. There's actually a YouTube series that goes, is this pregnancy food or is this a stoner food? But, I think we are actually hitting that time. Is there anything you want to add before we end the episode?
I need a snack now.
Okay. Well, once again, my name is Rayven. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Asmoudeus. I use they, Z pronouns.
Hey, there you go. You're using
Since
your new...
we were talking about neo-pronouns
Yay!
today.
And this has been another episode of
Smoking Out the Closet.
Bye!